Okay, well, I think that's more or less everybody who I know was coming live. The recording is in progress, and I'm going to keep this to under 60 minutes because I know that we're very busy at this time and it's tea time wherever we are in the world. So I'm going to keep it under 60 minutes. And my aim is really just to share something about the why and the how and the what of the book, to read a short extract. My actual box of copies came today. I couldn't believe it. I'm absolutely delighted because it was a bit hit and miss whether I would actually have the book in my hands or whether I would be using my draft copy, but they arrived today. So I'd like to read a short extract from it and then open up a space for any questions. I think it'd probably be better if you pop any in the chat as we go through, and I'll try to answer them. And then to complete with a short practice from the book. That's my plan. So this book has been within my body since the day I came earthside. I woke up, I think, into this world under the dark moon in the darkest part of the year, seeking light. That's all I can say. From the word go, I was asking the question why. And my sister, who is a vet, a scientist, really kind of was the beautiful, complete opposite to the esoteric, philosophical ball of energy that I was. And the biggest kind of contrast, I'd say, in our family that really showed that I was born to research and write this work was that the day that we found a ladybird, and Helen said, he's squashed and he's dead. And I said, and now I'm going to perform the rites so that it can resurrect and have eternal life. And this is like at the age of 6. So the idea of what is beyond the physical form has always been a passion of mine, a special interest in the neurodivergent circles. And as a seeker, I started off my life academically seeking. So I searched for the divine. I searched to make love, and by making love, to commune with the divine within academia, within theology. And I kind of stayed on that path, trying to find it within Christianity until perimenopause hit, when it really just wasn't enough for my mind to kind of grasp on to trying making meaning. And I wanted to explore it in an embodied way. So that catalyst of perimenopause was my doorway into making love with the divine, and this book really being birthed into form. So I say within the book that why these subjects, why this topic? Well, it was always there. It's prodded me my whole life. And I would say that this book is really a culmination of my doubting Thomas years to actually touch the divine. It wasn't enough for me to understand it. It actually wasn't enough for me to just touch into it in meditation or in those blissful experiences. I wanted it to actually be something I lived and breathed. So that's why the book. Going into perimenopause catalyzed me into shamanic practice first, strengthening the mind and being able to journey and make love with the divine through actually traveling consciousness. And then going into priestessing and embodiment of spirituality was the next step that moved me then into erotic practices and somatic practice. Through all of that, I was having deeply mystical and embodied experiences of oneness with the divine, to the extent that when I'd really integrated it enough, I realized there was actually no separation. There is no separation for me, between spirit and flesh, for they are in fact one. We seek and we seek and we seek outside ourselves, but all that we seek is within. It's the mystical path. Everything I long for is actually in me. Everything I petition outward for is within me. That's what I discovered. And what was absolutely blew my mind was when I started facilitating and these practices, shamanic practice, somatic practice, working with perimenopausal women, is that I was hearing them tell this story of the mystical path, but it was unbeknown to them. They were making love with the divine and telling me these deeply intense sacred experiences of their flesh, but were still looking outside of themselves. And it was that made me think, okay, I need to amplify these experiences, these stories that these women are telling me, these ordinary day-to-day experiences, and put it into a book and say, don't look outside, it's there. You're telling me it's in you. And it's in the day-to-day. So that is kind of how I got to writing the book. And then I really felt that I wanted to write as woman, as not as in K or not as in the person who contributed to the book, but as a voice of woman, because women's bodies particularly are an amazing portal for accessing the divine through embodied experience. And so the book was written as a voice of woman. So I was high as a kite thinking this is the way forward. I've been waiting. I've researched this my whole life. I'm going to write it. Off I go. And I put out a call for people to share experiences that they were willing to have woven, anecdotes, art, interviews, have woven into the book. And the response I got shocked me. Because whilst privately one-to-one, people were willing to share deeply intimate and embodied experiences, when I asked them to name it as that, to offer shares that I could actually tell the story of their bodies, they just went, oof, no. Or they said, that's too much. Or that's actually disgusting, someone said to me. Or I just can't. And I had a moment, I talked to Trista about this, that when I actually reached out to some people I know that had had these experiences and asked for shares, but I also put out a call to my wider circles, people in my spiritual circles who'd been on the path with me, to ask. And I was receiving these responses. I actually said to Trista, I can't do this. I've got it wrong. I've read it wrong. My intuition isn't right. And she said, are you sure? Because this feels good. This feels good to me. And I sat with it, and I sat in my own meditation and kind of went, why did I get these responses? And then I realized that the body, a woman's body, and a woman's body in pleasure is the ultimate taboo. The ultimate taboo. It's a taboo to ourselves, even if we think, we are in this path, and it is massive taboo to the patriarchy and the conditioning and religion and spirituality. So I was like, it's not even, the response isn't truth. It's not it's not me. It's not the question. It's the actual taboo that surrounds women's bodies. And then I kind of put words to that, which is the body, and particularly the body of woman, remains firmly in the grip of patriarchy, controlled, blamed, and ensnared in the narrative of the fall, the fleshy encounter is deemed unholy and entirely separate from divinity. They don't want us to know that because they want spiritual authority, pleasure to be something we have to buy, and be told what is true for us, kind of true for us. And that kind of, you can see the inhale there. I kind of went, whoa. Okay, this is the apple. This is the forbidden fruit of actually embodied power, gnosis, truth, spiritual authority, out of capitalism, out of consumerism, out of having to extract from somewhere or something else truth. Okay, I thought, right, I'm going to write it. And that was the turning point, and off I went. Regardless of everybody else's opinions, I just went on and allowed the projection and the criticism to bounce off me and just kept going. And I am so glad I did, because the shares that I did receive from people were just phenomenal. And some of the shares are from some people who are in the group, and you will see your voice anonymized as woman within the text. And my goodness, does it give a rainbow ray of woman's embodiment and ways of making with the divine into the story that I am so deeply, deeply grateful for. So that was the why, the how, and the what. The what came through as that this was to be written as a workbook, which is a 12-month program. Each month has a theme. It has a quote, a name, and then a discussion where I weave in the women's shares as practical examples of how they are making love with the divine through that theme. I then formulated, and I just guess you can't take the teacher out of me, I try this practice for you to see if you can make love with the divine in the way that that theme suggests. I know I'm speaking very theoretically. I'll explain in a moment how to do that. But it is a curriculum. It's a really easy to use workbook of a theme based on me kind of absorbing and collating all of the information that women told me and my own experience, a discussion with the shares woven in, and then a try this practice for you to try it out and see if it works for you. So the themes are the divine nervous system, and that is the one that I'm going to read an extract from today. That's month 1. And the divine nervous system, making love with the divine through coming into sympathetic activation and parasympathetic doing and being is really my way of making love with the divine. Being able to hold space for being a human being is how I make love with the divine. Yeah. So that's month 1. Then month 2 is the mundane. And in the book, there is the most amazing share from a woman that I interviewed on Zoom about the erotic coffee making experience. I sat as she shared with me how she makes love with the divine, comes into her aliveness through making it was beyond mindfully, erotically, a cup of coffee. And it's just phenomenal. I was like that at the end of it. I don't even like coffee. So day-to-day experience, the mundane. Month 3 is words. Month 4 is sound. Month 5 is movement. 6 is nature. That was a big one, particularly those of you who live in North Yorkshire with me, we are immersed in the beauty of nature. The shares from relating to nature and the eroticism and the sacredness of that, and the divine alive within it was phenomenal. So nature is month 6. Month 7 is creativity, creating. 8 is relating. 9 is touch. 10 is sexual intimacy. Month 11 is self-pleasure. And month 12 is living a mystic life, mysticism. So, and that was born out of what I heard. So that is the map of the journey. You will see that I've deliberately kind of skimmed over the words sacred, erotic, and ecstatic. And the reason for that is that if you are going to read this book and undertake the journey, it's important that you define them and the divine yourself. However, I feel I do need to speak to the word erotic, because that was the word that people were like, no, I can't go near. They were okay with sacred. They were even okay with the idea of love, creating love with the divine. Creating love with the divine was okay, but making love with the divine was too loaded. And the word erotic was... The erotic, Audre Lorde, a wonderful feminist writer, is the life force of women. The erotic, yes, it can be your sexual power and your sexual charge, but the erotic in and of itself is woman's ability to channel life force and create. It's life moving through you and birthing through you in whatever way is right for you. The erotic is terrifying to the patriarchy because it can't be tamed. It has one mission, and that is to have pleasure and to create. And it also makes justice. There's many other aspects to it. It's a justice making. It's life for all, by the way. It's not individualistic. It's justice making for all. It's life moving through you to expand life for all. But it's been sexualized. And erotic innocence is what you see in a 3-year-old who is running around, picking daisies, chasing butterflies, and smelling the roses and then eating chocolate cake at the same time. It's that pleasure for pleasure's sake, awe and wonder. Life is just magic. That's the erotic. And when a woman realizes that moves in and through her according to her following her impulse, there's nothing to buy, there's no teachings to receive, and there's nothing to consume other than her own self in tandem with the divine. So I am going to offer you that as a alternative, if that is a word that you are getting a little bit kind of reactive to. And I exemplify that through women's experiences in the book. So I'm going to pause now and just see if there's any questions. And if there's anything anybody would like to ask, then please do that now. That's right, Annie. Annie said they want to perpetuate the lie that a woman needs a man to experience making love with the divine. Yeah, absolutely. Anybody got any questions? Either come to the screen or in the chat. No? Okay. I'll check them again in a moment. What I will say is it was never enough for me to be told how to believe or what the divine was, God, goddess, life force, eros. And what I have found is that because I now know there's no separation between flesh and spirit or the divine, that actually if you really follow the impulse of flesh, it's always to create. And therefore, for me, the divine is as actually it is biblical as well. It's a verb. It's making love. Love is an action. It's a verb. It's a doing. It's an action of love making. So if we know that the divine and self are inseparable, we ascribe to tangible divinity the mystic path, and that we don't go up and out, we go in and through, then, and we follow the true impulse of our bodies, it's always to create life and justice for all. But we are so mind melded with all the patriarchal and spiritual teachings that it's really hard to get back to that simplicity. We think it's harder than it is, but it isn't. As I found it and experienced it, what is right for you is right for you. Okay, so I'm just going to look. There's been a question come through. Is the book recommended for over 18s? It seems to be a great power. Really good question. Thank you, Annie. Annie's just asked, is this for over 18s only? No, it's for under 18s as well. When I wrote on the self-pleasure and the sexual intimacy part, which is, of course, the big taboo, isn't it? Oh gosh, we can't talk to young girls about oh, sorry, Tris has just said I got a copy for my son's girlfriend and daughter, 16 and 19. And yeah, she said for younger girls too. I do think it is suitable for any age. The fact that we even have a caution around that still explains the story. And Annie, I'm thinking of myself as well when I was writing this. Is it suitable for younger women? Yes, it is. And when I wrote about sexual intimacy and self-pleasure, I kept it, I'm going to use the word light. And as Carly said, I would not hesitate to let my daughters read it if they want to. Thank you, Carly. It is the self-pleasure module. The practice is a practice called warming the spot, where I suggest placing a hot water bottle and sitting on it at the vulva to simply create sensation at the vulva without judgment. And it has trauma-informed clauses throughout. So it says anything that is too much, too soon, feels uncomfortable, stop. Just leave it out. It's not for you, it might not be for you. So I feel that it is appropriate for younger ones. And actually, if you watch younger children, they do something called vulva cupping. They will hold their genital areas, not, for any other reason other than to regulate and comfort themselves. It's that stage when we go through puberty and we start to sexually explore and self-pleasure or masturbate, if we want to use that word, that suddenly it becomes shamed. And that is part of the problem, because it diminishes the life force of the erotic if it comes through a woman's body in sexual charge. It dampens it down. That's why they want everything closed down and shamed. So my answer is, Annie, I think it's okay for any age. And yeah, it's definitely missing from sex education. I'll let you all read your own, the comments. Jay. Yeah, thank you. I agree that having this space to share this is really, really important. Yeah. Thank you. Any other questions?
Kay, there was a question about circles.
Yes.
If there are any available circles, and I would like to add that I think it would be wonderful to see these circles with young teenage girls as well. But yeah, I think you can speak more to that, but I think that's our hope.
Yes. Yeah. So I've just recorded Mentorship with Goddess as a training program. So kind of like a facilitator's training as an online course. However, my wider vision as an ex-teacher is, and I am going to do this, is to lobby education, to change education, and particularly around embodiment education and sex. I mean, sex education in and of itself is an issue, isn't it? That title. So what I'm offering evergreen courses, if that makes sense. I'm going to be through Girl God for you to experience so that you can share. Because until you have embodied and experienced these practices, whether it's mentorship with Goddess or the making love, it's really hard for you to hold space at an embodied level for somebody else talking about it. Unless you be it, you can't really do it. And also in terms of holding the space for other people to talk about this, if you can't hold the space for all of your own reactions to these topics, then it's really hard to hold space for others. I know that probably all of you do this already, but the question, yes, there needs to be circles. And the fact that you are all here having this conversation means that you're the space holders of the world that need to be able to open up these dialogues. So I haven't got any specific intention of holding circles myself, although I would be open to that if that needs to happen. But I really, really want to start to ripple out this content so that anybody who experiences can then go and share. So my vision isn't here, come and buy a program and then go and charge a fortune and earn money. It's experience it and then share it. Share it in conversation with your family, with friends, with your children, with their friends if they ask. Experience to share. I hope that answers the question. I'm sorry if it hasn't. Sarah, how important is this work for women working in social justice? I think I have a sense of the answer. Yeah. Resist, rest to resist, pleasure to resist. And Sarah, I've known you a long time, honey, and we are both real like rebels, aren't we? And we have a lot of voice against and fight, yeah. And the pleasure is the antidote. It's like you have to have that. Is that what you thought I would say? Or
yeah, as you know, I mean, I live in my head, you know, and so always in these spaces it's incredibly uncomfortable, but I know it's really important. So, and I just think when women when they do work in social justice and they put themselves in really quite challenging situations, especially you know, in terms of women's spaces, I think where do women get nurtured? You know, like where do the peacemakers, where do the peace workers get nurtured? Because they're in the fight. And so, you know, it's and if you're so conditioned to be in the fight because you just see justice, how do you unlock yourself to experience all this stuff that does unlock you and does do that? So, and that's always my question, probably, you know.
Brilliant question. I don't have the full answer to that. I guess for me, my only hope is getting it into education so that we birth generations of women, particularly, who know how to rest and know the divinity of their flesh from the start. So for us, Sarah, you know, let's just do little bits of rest when we can. And my passion is to nurture a new generation, the next generations, to not even need this education when they're in perimenopause. They get it when they're younger. We need to, my own personal vision is to change RE curriculum. We should not be filling their heads with the narrative of the fall, even in the sense of education, says she who taught RE for 20 years in secondary schools. But I've woken up to that. I was part of that indoctrination, unconsciously, in the name of exploration, helping children find meaning, but actually I was simply amplifying the narrative of the fall. So we can all do our bits, and the future generations, I feel, are the only way. So you've got nephews, haven't you, Sarah? Yeah. So that they nurture their partners, whether they're male or female, is inconsequential.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. I'll come back to the questions at the end then. I just want to read a short extract from the Divine Nervous System chapter. And I think it speaks to what you said, Sarah. And for anybody who wants to go into space holding, or does space hold, or is looking for spaces to be encircled to discuss these topics, which can be incredibly challenging. It's about spaces being trauma-informed, and how actually in being trauma-informed and nervous system friendly, we are making love with the divine, because the divine doesn't want us. We're born not to suffer, but to experience joy and pleasure. So this share is my own experience. And I would just like to offer you this as a reflection. Be still, engage the parasympathetic nervous system, and know internally through your embodied felt sense that I am the truth of who you are, God, divine. Be still and know that I am God, Psalm 46. What if the divine is actually the resolution of trauma and the flow of a regulated nervous system? What if making love with the divine is living as fully human and fully divine, moving in and out of activation and deactivation, sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system states? Many of us have traveled a long way on our spiritual path. We've journeyed up and down, above and below, outside, and then very firmly back inside our bodies. As seekers, and in many ways doubting Thomasiners, we needed to feel, see, touch, smell, and hear the divine to genuinely believe in it. I'm speaking from my own experience. As embodied mystics, the more contact we make with embodied sacred states, the more we move toward our physiology and start to merge spirit and merge at an ever deeper level within mind, body, and heart. There comes a time when we recognize that mindfulness, meditation, prayer, and even breathwork and yoga are supportive, blissful experiences, but mainly in a dissociative and a disembodied way. We finish our practices and feel disconnected, going about our day-to-day embodied human life. We start to no longer feel satisfied with being with the divine in a fragmented and unintegrated way. Energy medicine training introduced me to the concept of cosmic and earthly energetics moving through the body. And I started to make connections with electromagnetic fields, basic physics, and religious and spiritual concepts. Angels became rays of rainbow light spectrum. Eros became the pulsing energy of the earth. And the the divine became magnetic and electric forces. I liked the harmonization of different disciplines and paths coming together, uniting and complementing each other. I liked there not having to be either this way or that way, and it felt good in my body and my mind. Over the last couple of years, understanding and working with trauma and its resolution, somatics and nervous system regulation, has brought me into expansive states of embodied flow and wellness. A sudden perception and expansion, working in accordance with my embodied knowing, resulted in a comprehension and felt sense of the immanence of the divine. Goddess, God, and the ideals I sought, peace, clarity, connection, love, and holy anger were the internal experiences of a regulated nervous system. Living as a divine human, the embodiment of Goddess God, and as the I am for me, is being within a body which activates and moves through its day with regulated sympathetic activation, which comes regularly into rest and communion and the parasympathetic state. To conclude, my discovery is that all I seek and petition the divine for, including oneness, acceptance, gratitude, protection, safety, and companionship, they are all natural states of nervous system health and trauma resolution. Through nervous system regulation, I am making love with the divine. That's, I felt was suitable to share because it was my own story as the I. And it was a big moment because it was like, oh, maybe there really isn't anything out there. Maybe there isn't even anything after I die. I don't know. But what I do know is that the otherness, the extraordinary of the ordinary, the sacred mundane, the tangible divinity is the truth as I've experienced it through nervous system work. And that's a small taste of the book. There's women's shares all the way through of talking to trees and dancing and making the cup of coffee and weaving love with their partners and breastfeeding and feeling the connection and making love with the divine. There's so many different shares. That is just a taste of the book. Okay, I'm going to pause. Are there any questions or comments before we finish with the practice? Yeah, I hope you can read in the comments what Annalise said. I sense this work is so much part of why so many women have chronic pain, autoimmune. I agree. Anybody else, any comments or questions? Okay. So we're going to do the practice from the divine nervous system. And it's only 10 minutes. And I'm a great believer in spiritual practices that can be integrated in the day-to-day. So this is a practice that I created myself based on somatic training, energy medicine, guided visualization, prayer. It's kind of like a mashup. And yeah, I'm just going to invite you to try this with me today, if you'd like to. So this is a hands of light practice. You can do this with your eyes open or your eyes closed, whatever feels good for you now. If you are going to close your eyes, I would just offer you the invitation first to orient yourself to the space that you're in. So by orient, I mean, have a look around. What's going on in the ceiling and on the floor? What's going on to the left and the right of you? Really take in the scent of the room. You can take in and inhale through your mouth. Can you taste the room? Be curious about any shadows, the lighting. Any sounds other than my voice? And then allow the eyes to be open or closed. And we're just going to offer the invitation to the mind and to the body that this practice is asking them to be still and present for 10 minutes. In this pause, take a moment to feel into what is here for you now today. Without judgment. Taking a moment to connect to your bottom. Connect to your feet. If you're supported by a sofa or a chair, connect to that holding of your body. Feeling into where your physical form ends and the floor or the chair begins. Feeling held and supported. And then inviting your hands to gently clasp, come together. The aim is not to grip, but instead to gently and lovingly clasp and make skin on skin contact, your skin on skin contact. And can you stay present to that contact of your hands at the same time as your bottom and your back? Can you notice the temperature, the smoothness, or the otherwise of your skin on skin, and any other sensations? And then drop your shoulders, lean back, and loosen the clasp. Release your hands. Drop your shoulders, lean back. Now this time, bring the hands together. Bring the hands together, but then without touching, bring them as close together as you can without them touching. So hands are coming together, but this time they're not touching. Slightly parted. And that tiny space between the hands, I just want you to imagine a flow of light coming down your arms and starting to fill the space between your hands. And as the space fills, your hands will start to part. The space is going to fill with a ball of light. The space is going to fill with a ball of light. So just allow your hands to part as you create a ball of light. Fantastic. You want a ball of light about the size of a large tennis ball. Pause, feel the ball, and then tune into your body. Is there an area of your body that is asking to be soothed, to be witnessed, held, nurtured? See if you can connect. It happens automatically. Which part of the body needs that presence now? And then when you've identified that, I want you to take the ball of light and just place it into that part of the body. And let it be absorbed into your body. And just hold your hands against the body so it really absorbs, moves through your skin, so that all you're left is with your hands making contact with the body. And as the light flows into that part of the body, I really want you to listen. So listen and learn, stay present to what arises in the body. That's L, listen. And then I include and compassionately allow everything that you're experiencing. And then G, greet. Greet and welcome all you experience as lovemaking with the divine. Greet all you're experiencing as lovemaking with the divine. And then H, hear. Hear and receive messages and guidance. And then T, thank you, body. Thank you, body, mind, emotions, and energy for coming into union. And this is the hands of light practice. Listen, include, greet, hear, and thank. Okay. Very gently, just allowing your hands to release from the body. And as you do that, I want you to really know that that is making love with the divine through nervous system regulation, through hands of light practice. A very sacred, respectful practice of the animal self that you are. Okay. Just taking a nice breath in, orienting to your space, having a little look around. Coming back to the space. Coming back to the screen. If it's comfortable to do so, there's no imperative though. I really want to honor the time boundaries. So we got 4 minutes. Is there any final questions or comments that you would like to ask? But if not, I'm really happy for everybody just to go and be the rest of the evening. No need to thank or anything. But if there is anything anybody would like to ask, I would like to finish in the last couple of minutes of that.
I just wanted to comment that a lot of the books, the Girl God books, get censored because of the covers and whatnot. But this book in particular, it's like completely shut down. Like a lot of the posts didn't. I don't think they even had any views. Or it was completely. Yeah, I don't know if you want to speak to that, but.
I really would like to speak to that, actually, Trista. Thank you for saying that. Yeah, this, as I said, has been a huge test of resilience on so many levels. And now once it's out and published and so affirming for women and their bodies, we can't even get any traction, can we, Trista? It's like it is being deliberately censored. Not only, it's not just the image, it's the concept of making love with the divine, that it's an autonomous and an embodied process. But it just makes me mad. It fires me up. And I really believe, I feel for you, Trista, and I do want to publicly thank you for allowing me to run with this project and for affirming me and keeping me going when I wanted to stop, and your mum for the publishing, and Anna, the cover artist, and every other artist that was within it. There's Anna's work throughout and Kat's work throughout. The resilience of you and Kat and Anna, and you and Anna have been doing this work for a long time. It's over a decade. I can't quit after 3 years. And so it's people like you and the trailblazers who have been censored every step of the way, who it's like one of us, the baton goes down and we're tired and the other one picks us up. And so every woman I would offer everybody here, every woman that you hear speaking something that is triggering to the collective, cheer them on if it resonates with you, and ask for help, because it is a collective sense vein. And it's so blatant, isn't it? They're not even being subtle about it. So thank you for all of you who found this space and for coming. And if it's resonated and you would like to get the book, then please do, and do share the message.
But Kay, we also have to take a moment. It is your book launch, to celebrate you.
Thank you.
And I want to shout out to you for this wonderful idea. It's been so inspiring to me and helpful in my own life. And, this work is so necessary. I see it every day in women that I know, the women that I talk to, the young women that I speak to. And I'm going to get emotional, but, when I think back to the sex education I had, was not adequate, and it did not set me up to be a woman in my own power, or to even enjoy anything about sex. They still don't even talk about female orgasm or the clitoris in most sexual education classes, and it's really maddening. So yeah, there's definitely a reason why this work is censored. And I think I said to you something to the effect of like, it's a testament to your book how far they went to censor everything that we posted, because I think when you get down to it, the complete autonomy, sexual autonomy of woman is like the scariest thing on the fucking planet for patriarchy. If women are in their power, going back to the Audre Lorde quote, we cannot be stopped. Yeah. So thank you, Kay.
Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you. Thank you. Please take away my longing, experience, and share. Feel it, share it, liberate yourself and others. I absolutely agree. And it is a testament, I think, for our experience and Kat's. I'm just going to talk about Kat and Anna, that we self-resource now. So yes, we're knocked down like a pop-up frog, and the more that you resource, the more they want to knock you down. And that is the collective as well, but we just keep going, and that is why the resilience is so necessary. And Sarah, I'll speak to what you said, when you're in social justice work, being able to self-resource is vital, because it would cost too much money apart from anything else if you have to keep going out. Okay, I feel like that is complete. Is there anything else anybody would like to share or ask? If not, thank you. Have a great evening. Thank you for coming.